Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be talking about transit Neptune Sextile or Trine, one's natal Neptune. Now, this transit can manifest in dreams, inspiration, idealism, sacrifice, fantasizing. Could be in harmony with your dreams and inspiration. I'm going to elaborate and expound on that. Well, the thing about it is, the dreams that you have, and whether they're actual literal dreams, in your sleep, or they could be just things that you really want to attain but may not seem very attainable, those things you may be more inspired to embark on and possibly even attain. This is a very good transit for those dreams, for making this come to a making those dreams maybe come to fruition, to reality at this time. It's about being idealistic in order to attain them, but not being unrealistic in doing so. It's a very auspicious transit for this. This is a time where you might also too be able to sacrifice more for people, Neptune related people, whether it can be could be the less fortunate, which would include the homeless, the oppressed, the impoverished, the hungry. And in doing so, really, just doing it in very altruistic fashion, graciously. It's a time, and have little obstructions or any kind of distractions or diversions from doing this. Sextiles and trines in astrology, those aspects are very flowy. These are aspects that are easy, and generally, these things, whatever you're doing, at the time of this transit, that could be Neptune related. It's more attainable because again, there's less likelihood of having some kind of delay or distraction or diversion in doing so. It can also be a time where things you fantasize about, and those things you may be more inspired to go about to do it this time. It can also be a time Neptune is connected with escape, isolation, seclusion. It could be a very positive time for being able to do so in order for things that could be connected with meditation or spirituality, or even doing something with the metaphysical, which can include astrology. It's a time as well where this is a very positive time, I would say, for forgiveness as well, because that is connected with Neptune, and you're having the transit of Neptune making a positive aspect to the natal Neptune. It's about really at this time as well, when you have this transit, it could be about being more inspired to attain your ideals at this time. If you have the natal Neptune in the fourth house, it could be having just a home, family. If you have, say, if it's Neptune and Capricorn in the fourth house, it could be having, just a very structured, consistent home and family life at this time. And it's also a time as well, considering Neptune is associated with imagination, it could be a good time for people that are in like those creative fields or doing things that are associated with their imagination, and being and having that time in isolation and solitude and seclusion to be able to work on those things without having the disruptions or distractions or diversions or what have you at this point in time. Now, what I want to get to is, okay, if you have anything anatomically connected with the planet Neptune wrong, with going on physical related issues connected with Neptune, such as the feet, the toes, the pineal gland, the immune or lymphatic system, this is the time where you may have more inspiration to take care of those matters. If you've been procrastinating or hesitating on taking care of those issues, this is the time where you could be more likely than not to be able to do something about them, or at least at this time be more idealistic in matters with those problems. So, and as an example, it's really just, it could be about being able to work around those issues a little bit better and trying to accentuate the positive. What can you actually do, not worrying about, well, what's hindering you as a result of these issues at this time, and think about accentuating more of the positive element. What can you do to work around those issues where you could still have your enjoyment, at this time? And this is also a time where you're likely to be, more forgiving. If there's any matter, connected with deception or duplicity that you've been involved with. There's some kind of financial fraud, as an example. Say if you have the second house involved, as an example, or you were dealing, just with a deceitful or deceptive relative, or somebody, that just tried to bamboozle you, or somebody that just took your, so you loan somebody money and they haven't made any effort to pay it back. This is the time where you could be more forgiving in those matters, more so than you ordinarily would. And it's about showing, more. It's a good aspect for compassion, for those people. Again, the less fortunate. That can include the homeless, the hungry, the impoverished, the oppressed, people that might have been formerly incarcerated. And it's a time as well where you have more of an ability, like anything connected, with any delusion or self-deception. You may be able to see, intuitively, what's going on, with something of that nature. If there's a person, that's being deceptive, or if you're looking at something, you're less likely to delude yourself, into thinking, okay, this is what I'm going to be able to do, when it's really not attainable. This is a time as well, I would say, dealing with confusion, could be a little bit, easier. You could be more idealistic in terms of dealing with any chaos or confusion that might be existing in your life at this point in time. It could be a time where you might be getting some help from somebody to deal with it, somebody that's sacrificing, or it's a time where people, if you're a spiritual person, it can be a time where people, that that are prominent, they're spiritual, that are at a church that you may go to, some congregation or church. This is the time where those people may be able to help you deal with those matters, and even if it's just simply for moral support. And this is a very, just in general, as far as this transit goes, a very inspirational transit, and trying to attain, those ideals, at this point in time. It could also be a time where you might, if you've had any, people that are prominent in your life that have been imprisoned, it could be a time where you may be showing, some sacrifice and compassion toward those people, at this point in time, and trying to see the best in them, especially if these people are, trying to enhance their life somehow during the time they are incarcerated. They're trying to make improvements and modifications in their personality, and have good plans, when they get out of prison, to actually do the right thing for their lives. It's also a time as well where you might be, sacrifice for people. It's a good time for sacrificing and having that right amount of inspiration. Dealing with, could be people that are going through addiction. If by any chance you're a person that is viewing this video and you're going through some addiction, whether it could be drugs or alcohol or sex, this is the time where you can be more inspired to do something about this, being idealistic and taking care of those matters at this point in time. And Neptune is also associated with what is nebulous and unclear, so it's also a time where you may have more of that inspiration to deal with those issues, to be Neptune related people may be able to help you, deal with those matters at this time, such as people in spirit, that are spiritual at this point in time. So anyway, now another way this transit could manifest, it could be about having that inspiration, which is Neptune, to pursue dreams, which is Neptune. Hold on a moment, people. Sorry about that, I'm back, but anyway. Now let's say if the natal Neptune is in Scorpio in the 8th house, um, those dreams could be inspired, to take on. Could be, let's say it could be, being a psychologist, which is Scorpio, connected with trauma, which is the 8th house. Uh, Another thing too is that it could also be an auspicious time for dreams, which is Neptune, of attaining your ideals and making that come to reality. Now, if the natal Neptune is in Aquarius in the 3rd house, as an example, it could be doing something innovative or futuristic, which is Aquarius involving cars, which is, I would say, the 3rd house. Now, Neptune-related people, when I say Neptune-related people, people that are in Neptune professions, as an example, such as people in metaphysical, which includes astrology or dancing or poetry or photography or chemistry, as some examples. People that are spiritual, those people may be more in agreement and harmony with, what ways you're sacrificing, which is Neptune. Now, let's say, for example, if the natal Neptune is in the 11th house, it could be, sacrificing in matters with computers or electronics. It could be helping somebody, troubleshoot their computer or an electronic device, and even just for friends in general. Now, it could also be a very auspicious time for escaping, which is Neptune, so to speak, for Neptune associated things. And let's say, it could be doing, again, Neptune's connected with poetry or dancing, meditation, spirituality as some examples. If the natal Neptune is in the 9th house, as an example, it could be doing these things, could be with in-laws or grandchildren or foreigners as some examples. Anyway, people, that will conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, Edwin Learnard saying stay well.